What's up, guys? Rick here with your betting and one and done preview for this week's Zurich Classic. It is a unique event, so this is going to be a unique preview. We're going to have to look at these guys as members of a team, which provides some interesting challenges, but I think I've done a pretty good job here, so we'll look through all of that information. But before I do so, remember, there is a live chat right here on the Rick Run Good YouTube channel at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday for all your final questions and answers about this very unique event that we have on our hands this week. And then also go to rickrungood.com/bets if you have not signed up for an account in either William Hill, BetMGM, BetRivers. They're giving away hundreds of dollars, up some of them thousands of dollars in free bets depending on what state you live in. So go to rickrungood.com/bets for more information and what you might be eligible for. Helps you, helps me, helps them. Michael Scott, win, win, win. All right, I think that's all. Let's jump into it. What you're looking at right now is the tournament predictor tool on rickrungood.com. Had to get very creative for this week. I'll harken back to my spreadsheet golf days. If you were with us here in quarantine, I had a good time. I don't know if anybody actually enjoyed it, but I was simulating hole by hole, round by round, event by event during quarantine, and it was we were making lineups for it. It was interesting, but it really opened my eyes to the possibility of some of these simulations. And what it is allowed me to do is get down on kind of a shot-based level, and that's super handy, especially for this format where one golfer is going to be taking approximately half of the shots in alternate shot, and the other golfer is going to be taking approximately half. And then you also have to factor in the more valuable birdies this week than ever before, because birdies are gold. If you make a bogey, it is probably not as detrimental because there's a really good chance that your partner did not make a bogey, right? So to put this into perspective, Ryan Palmer or Jon Rahm, they probably make a bogey. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Let's just say they make a bogey 15% of the time. Individually, they make a bogey 15% of the time. Well, if Ryan Palmer makes a bogey, it's very unlikely that on the same hole, Jon Rahm also made a bogey playing his own ball. So this is all about birdies. It is all about giving yourself a chance at as many looks as possible. So that's kind of what I've factored in for this week. And it should be no surprise that Jon Rahm and Ryan Palmer won my simulations by quite a sizable amount. I have them winning this 15.1% of the time. It very closely mimics their 6-1 odds that you can get on them. Some places are actually a lot better, 7-1, 8-1. So that's very much in line with what Vegas is thinking. If you can get them at anything over probably about 7.5-1. That is, there is value there. Not a ton, but there is value there. And I think if you're just looking for a sweat come Sunday, if you're looking for a team that's most likely to be in it, it is probably the Rahm and Palmer team. I did not bet it. I don't necessarily like betting things this short, but if they're certainly the team that's most likely to be in this for the long haul. And I'm not sure if I might have pointed this out on the DFS video on Monday. I definitely pointed it out on the First Cut podcast, which is the CBS Sports podcast that I host. And it is in regards to Ryan Palmer. He's finished fourth here with Jordan Spieth in 2017. He won this in 2019 with Jon Rahm. He is a much better player now, which is kind of scary. He makes a ton of birdies. He makes a ton of eagles. Never really puts his opponent or his he's never really going to put his partner out of position. He's great off the tee. He hits a lot of greens. He's almost the perfect partner here. Next up is Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay. This is a team that I'm probably avoiding in an outright situation. Excuse me, avoiding in an outright situation, but I'm starting to get more interested as the week goes on for DFS, and because I think they're going to be very much overlooked, but for betting that doesn't really matter. I've got them here at 6.5-1, some places 7, maybe 7.5. I don't have them winning that often. I have them winning 9.1% of the time. It's not often enough to get the job done here. I'm just probably staying away from that situation in general. And then I have Morikawa and Wolf winning at 8.2% of the time. That feels like a lot, especially with the form that Wolf is in right now. Probably not going to touch that either. Starting to get into the guys that I am interested in. The Bubba Watson, Scotty Scheffler group. I have them winning this 8% of the time. That gives us about a 2% edge compared to their implied odds, which are about 6%. So they're one of the better values that you could bet if you can get that number at about 16-1 or so. Anything longer, it's going to get any better. It's going to get even better. This is an incredibly volatile team. They're going to be able to make a ton of birdies when they get going in the right direction. It's super scary to stop them. So I certainly don't mind this team at all, and they are one of the teams that I actually bet this week. So I've put my hard-earned cash down on the Bubba Watson and Scotty Scheffler group. And then this Billy Horschel, Sam Burns group is really interesting. They show up as another big, one of the larger values that I have. Everybody by this point knows Billy Horschel's won this event twice, once as an individual, once as a team member. Everybody knows that Sam Burns is one of the most volatile golfers. That's a good thing in this format because we've seen the upside. So I have them winning this event about 6.6% of the time. I've not bet them yet. There's a chance that by the time we get to Thursday morning, I will get there on them, but I have not pulled the trigger yet. The teams that I think I'm most interested in, the Homa Taylor Gooch team is really interesting, and they're catching a lot of steam here. They opened up some places at 35. They might be they're down to 28 on DraftKings right now. I think William Hill still had him at around 30. I know Circa had him at, I think even longer than that, 32. So obviously the longer the better, but this is, they really do check off all the boxes. Most people don't realize what a good iron player Taylor Gooch is, and we can pull up Max Homa's numbers here because he's been on an excellent stretch of golf. He makes, over 4 birdies around. That's 35th on tour. So obviously better than that in this field. He's never really going to put you out of position. We know that these two are actual friends. They get along. This is a really good pairing for both of them. So this is a group that I like. That checks off all the boxes. Chris Kirk and Brendan Todd, it's very interesting. They're the team where if you just molded them together, if you made them one player, they'd be excellent on tour. Now, that's not how this works, but it is nice that they have complementary skill sets. The one team that I'm really stuck staring at is the Hatton Willett group. And I want to do a bit of a deeper dive on these guys. So here's Terrell Hatton's round by round logs, just in the last couple of events. And you can see, look at the RBC Heritage. 2 events, he gained 4 strokes or more. Or I'm sorry, 2 rounds, he gained 4 or more strokes. The other 2, he lost 2 or more. This has been a very consistent trend. He did the same thing at the Masters. 2 rounds, awesome. 2 rounds, bad. The match play, the match play we'll throw out because it's match play, but Players Championship, same thing. He misses the cut, but he gains 3 strokes in one round, loses 2 in another. API goes +5, +4, -1, -3, right? I mean, this is a trend for him where he hasn't been able to put 4 rounds together, but the 2 or 3 rounds that he can, he's awesome. Now, you get a guy like Danny Willett, who is a bit more solid, a bit more sound, who can kind of rein in the bad stuff. That makes this team very interesting to me. It is also a very comfortable pair, right? These guys know each other. They play together a lot. They actually played together at the RBC Heritage for rounds, I want to say 3. It might have been 3 and 4. It might have been just 3. It might have been just 4. But they played together late in that tournament as well. So this is a very interesting team to me because of the one guy's incredible upside, incredible downside, and maybe Willett can just kind of temper it a little bit. So I really do think that team is very interesting. And then let's be real. This is certainly a week to be embracing the long shots. Let me point out a couple of them really quick, depending on what number you can get. Keegan Bradley and Brendan Steele, both better ball strikers. Keegan, top 10 in tee to green at the moment, and Steele's putter has been better. Neesmith and Seifert. This is a pretty interesting squad. I like Seifert. He's made 5 cuts in a row, played well at the Honda Classic. Neesmith, great iron player. I think if these guys can give themselves enough looks, they are super deep. Some places are 100-1. I have them here in the predictor at 70-1. You can probably get better numbers on that. The other interesting name, and this is really deep down the list, but I'll tell you from experience, I don't even know if I can find them. It's Seamus Power and David Hearn. David Hearn is, let's just pull him up here. He's a great putter and has been for a long time. And putting in formats like this is super important. You can either, they're not playing a scramble, but like, if he can get his ball in the cup first, that kind of that frees up your partner to kind of do different things. Also, in alternate shot, being a really good putter comes in handy. He loses a ton of strokes off the tee, but it is not because he is wild. It is just because he is very short. He's 211th on tour in distance, but he's 15th in accuracy. So the fact that, he's not going to kill you off the tee, he's just going to be short. He is paired up with Seamus Power, who they have actually played together thrice here, I believe. In the last two, they've gone 5th and 10th. And I'll tell you what, I watched Seamus Power last week. He played on the Korn Ferry Tour last week. He was out here at Paiute in Vegas. He finished 4th or 5th, something like that. But I followed him around for a while. He was striping it. He's like the slowest player I've ever watched play, but he was absolutely striping it. And I'm wondering if they can rekindle some of that magic they've had here with Power playing well, Hearn being a kind of a specialist in one area. This would be a very long shot. Like, right, you can probably get these guys. Let me see what like their top 10 number might be. Yeah, they're 10-1 to finish inside the top 10, right? I'm not saying they're going to win this golf tournament. That's 150-1, but a top 10 is 10-1. Top 20 is probably 5-1, something like that. So an interesting team if you're looking for a flyer further down the board. All right, let's do some one and done. So the Run Good one and done, which I'll give you an update on here, is getting very competitive at the top. Not thanks to me, but Castor Joshua is in the lead over Nash the Flash, Chappy Chaps, Graybo, and Ugri. They're the only 5 over 10 million. We started back at the beginning of the season, and I cannot stress enough, know the rules of your one and done. All of them are probably going to be different. The way that I do it at mine is you can pick any golfer you have not picked, and you get access to his teammates. So, for example, if you want to pick Ryan Palmer this week, as long as you haven't used him, you can pick him, and you get the amount of money that he earns. Some places will make you have to either burn both golf. So, like, for example, if you have not used Ryan Palmer and you have used Jon Rahm, their partners, that's okay. In my one and done, you just have to take Palmer. In some, you might have to have both partners eligible, or when you pick a golfer, you might burn both guys. So know what your rules are and how you're going to handle that. So that my one and done, and the assumption that I'm kind of running with is that you have a lot of guys available to you. So this is a pretty good week to go out. If you haven't used Billy Horschel, right, you're kind of looking for either specialists or guys that you're not going to use who are partnered up. The obviously ideal guy is to play Ryan Palmer. That's the ideal guy. The other interesting guys would be, use Sam Burns because you get access to Billy Horschel, and you also, this is a good format like for both of them. Even like a Brendan Todd, you get access to Chris Kirk, and this is a pretty good format for them. If you really wanted to use Tony Finau this week, using Cam Champ would be the play, right? Because you're probably never going to use Cam Champ and you want to get access to Tony Finau. So you got to consider what you're actually doing. I mean, you could in theory, if you trust this team enough, use Matthew Wolff and get access to Morikawa. They're the 4th shortest odds. That would be pretty good. If you trust Vegas, if you trust that Wolff might be able to figure it out in this format, I might not be there yet, but that would be like you're looking for. It's someone in the Slack channel said it's almost like a I'm going to butcher this, almost like a coupon. Like it's a buy Ryan Palmer, get Jon Rahm coupon. Like that's like we're looking for the best, most valuable coupon we can find. And I'm just trying to point out some of the bigger discrepancies. Like, wouldn't this be a perfect time to use Taylor Gooch? You're never going to use Taylor Gooch. This is a really good format for him. So I think there's an absolute ton of options here just because of volatility, the fact that you only have to pick one of these guys. For the most part, you're probably not going to use a lot of these guys. So I would probably rank them like this. All things considered, Ryan Palmer's got to be your number one choice. Sam Burns is not bad. I don't mind that. I might have already used him in the swing season, so that's out the door. Gooch is very interesting to use. And then I think if you were trying to chase, Matthew Wolff would be an interesting chase option because I don't think people are going to go They're not going to burn Morikawa because he's stuck with Wolff, and they're not going to want to play Wolff if they're in the lead. So I think that would be an interesting option. The other thing is it's like $1,050,000 for each guy. So it's pretty big, right? Especially if you can make the cut. It's 80 teams down to 35. Very volatile stuff. So should be fun, should be interesting. Let me know what you're going to do from a one and done standpoint. I think that's the most interesting situation that we have this week. More interesting than the outright market. But yeah, let me know. Tweet me at RickRunGood. Leave a comment below. Best of luck this week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.